The American Revolution by CHughes. The colonists wanted the colonized to find new sources for money, land, and religious freedom. The original 13 colonies were grouped into New England, Middle, and Southern. In the New England area, they relied on fishing, in the Middle, farming and trade, and in the South, mostly farming. The Navigation Acts of 1651 were a series of laws that restricted the use of foreign ships for trade between every country except Britain. The French and Indian War, also known as the 7 Years' War, was fought between British and French. The Indians fought alongside the French. It began in 1754 and ended with the Treaty of Paris. Even though Britain won, the war put him in deep debt. King George III was the King of Britain and Ireland. He saw the colonies as a money-making opportunity so that he could make money and pay off the war debts through taxes. The Proclamation of 1763 was passed by King George and restricted settlements west of the Appalachian Mountains. This angered the colonists because many had to relocate. The Sugar Act was a tax on imported molasses. This act made it illegal for colonists to purchase anything from any other countries. If they did, they would be guilty of a crime. The Stamp Act was one of the most hated of all the taxes. This required colonists to pay a tax on any printed paper as they used. This started the call of taxation without representation by the colonists. The Sons of Liberty were a group of storekeepers and artisans who rebelled against the unjust taxes and started an organized group of protest and unfair treatment by the British. Some of the most famous Sons of Liberty include Sam Adams and Paul Revere. The Boston Massacre started as a throwing of snowballs, ended in a near riot between the colonists and the British soldiers in Boston. Eventually, the soldiers opened fire and killed 5 people in addition to wounding several others. The Tea Act made colonists angry because it created a monopoly on tea sales in the colonies. A group of colonists, many of which were the Sons of Liberty, dressed as Indians and dumped tea that was to be sold in Boston Harbor. Their purpose was to protest yet another tax, this time on tea. They cost the British tens of thousands of dollars. As a result, the British closed the port of Boston and passed the Intolerable Act. This incident was known as the Boston Tea Party. Paine wrote Common Sense to encourage people to join the fight for colonial independence. He used language that would appeal to the greatest number of people. His writings are considered one of the most influential works in American history. Some of the Enlightenment thinkers who influenced the American Revolution include Paine, Voltaire, Locke, and Rousseau. Their work influenced the writings of Thomas Jefferson, as he wrote the Declaration of Independence, and additionally impacted the writers of the Constitution. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence with the assistance of several other men who helped him revise it. The Declaration said that 13 colonies needed to break free from the British rule and become independent states. This part includes the settlement of intent, list of grievances, and finally breaking ties with England. At no point did the colonists threaten attack. They just, however, declared their freedom. As a result of the previous events, the Revolutionary War broke out. The advantages of the British were that they had proper clothing instead of rags, and had greater amounts of supplies, ammunition, and weapons. The advantages of the colonies were that they knew the land and the weather conditions where they were fighting. They also used types of warfare that were foreign to the highly trained British soldiers. The Continental Army was led by George Washington, and William Howe led the British Army. Loyalists did not want to fight against the British because they supported them. Eventually, it did not matter, because they helped them from France, helped them turn the tide of the war and allowed colonists to win in 1783. The Treaty of Paris eventually ended the Revolutionary War in September of 1783. The Articles of Confederation established the colonies as a confederation of states that were free and independent. The weaknesses include the Congress could not tax the states, also that there was no executive or judicial branches of the government. Finally, there was no means to regulate trade or commerce. The result was a national government was weak. The Articles of Confederation left the newly formed government with a weak national government with no real power. Therefore, after much debate and compromise, and with the addition of the Bill of Rights, the U.S. Constitution was passed. Once the Constitution was passed and they needed a leader, therefore, George Washington was unanimous selected by his peers in 1789 to lead the new country.